film that has always grabbed my attention every single time that I saw a poster or heard people talking about it was Nightmare Alley. I knew practically nothing about it other than the fact that it was a period film, and I'm often split down the line with those types of films, but just looking at the sheer talent from everybody involved in this film is enough to check it out. So I did. What did I think about it? Well, let's get cracking. Nightmare Alley is ultimately about a mysterious carny who discovers a talent he has for manipulation as he takes up a gig as a mentalist. But as he gets stronger in his ability to mess with people's heads, he runs into a psychologist who may actually be more dangerous than he. When I turned on Nightmare Alley last night, I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and while laying down in bed, I turned it on thinking I might, just watch a few minutes or so before I fell asleep. That way I know if I wanted to finish it the next day or not, but I couldn't turn it off. I wasn't expecting to stay up for another 2.5 hours, but this thing was so riveting that I couldn't ever disengage from it. There's just this entire cloud or atmosphere of fraud or even manipulation that as an audience member you feel like these people are trying to pull a fast one over on you and you just don't trust anybody or anything. That's the nature of Nightmare Alley. It isn't just Bradley Cooper being mysterious or manipulative. In a lot of ways, everybody is. After all, it begins at a carnival in the height of a freak show, an event that was kind of famous for conning people in the name of entertainment. Director Guillermo del Toro spoke about inspiration for wanting to make this film because his father was actually kidnapped, and out of nowhere you had all these psychics showing up, promising that they could find him, preying on the grief of desperate people, hurting them more than helping. Now, this was actually a remake of a film made a long while ago, and also an adaptation of a book by the same name that I never read, and I never saw the original film, so I can't really speak on them, but Guillermo did a brilliant job with the direction of this film, particularly because of the elusive atmosphere of the film. I mean, you feel the tension. You feel the dishonest attitude of the characters. You have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in the movie, but it is filled to the brim with warnings and foreshadowings to the point where wherever it ends up, you know it can't be anything good. Now, aside from the atmosphere of the film or the story itself, I think that it's prudent to also discuss the stuff going on behind the scenes, because this movie is beautifully shot and performed. The cinematography, production design, lighting, and editing, specifically, all that. It was all made to make the movie stand out and do a remarkable job of transporting the audiences into the setting. And the performances were strong enough to make you believe that all these characters were who they said they were, even though it's essentially an ensemble cast. I mean, you're talking about Bradley Cooper, you're talking about Rooney Mara, Cate Blanchett, Richard Jenkins, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, among a million others, and a fan of all these people, especially Rooney Mara, who didn't have as much character development as the rest of the lead cast, but I've always been a huge fan of hers and can tell that she still put her all into the performance just as everybody else did. As far as if these people felt born to play the roles, I'm not entirely sure. I constantly had the feeling that the lead character Stan, played by Bradley Cooper, probably could have been played by a lesser known actor, since you need to be more emotionally invested in his character versus anybody else, and it's always more possible to connect with an unknown actor than a well-known, because a lot of people are going to be thinking, hey, it's Bradley Cooper, and you probably shouldn't really be doing that. He does a great job, though. He disappears into that role. He gives it his all. I just felt logistically, I probably would have hired a lesser known or even completely unknown actor for that role specifically. Another thing that I didn't want to forget to mention is the pacing the film makes. It feels remarkably slow. I mean, it's definitely a dry, slow-burning film, which I guarantee has probably annoyed a few people that like a faster-paced, straight-to-the-point plot. I personally really like a slow burn, especially if it's done right, and I honestly believe that this was done right. It takes its time to really flesh out the mystery of what's happening, as well as set the tone of overall manipulation that makes audiences hopefully feel uneasy while watching, as it did me. So let's go ahead and break down my final score for a second. From a technical, unbiased perspective, I think that this film was incredibly well made, especially in its direction. I often have a hard time distinguishing directing style unless you're talking about a specific director such as Spielberg, Hitchcock, Shyamalan, or even Joss Whedon, Zack Snyder. As I'm learning more and more though, Guillermo del Toro, he fits in there as well. When you can say that no other director could have possibly made this movie work the way that it did but Del Toro, then that's a huge compliment. Overall, very well made, no major complaints here. My unbiased score is 84%. As for how I personally felt about the film, or my biased score, I think that I kind of already basically explained this. I was enraptured by the film, and I risked lack of sleep in order to keep watching it. I didn't have to do that. I couldn't look away. That should tell you everything that you need to know. I mean, I liked it, but I understand that not everybody will. My bias score is 92%, meaning that when we combine the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 88%. 88 out of 100 possible stars, or a letter grade of what? A-. So guys, have you seen Nightmare Alley? If so, let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. Until then, peace out.